Today's Psalm, the 25th, is another by my namesake, David. In the first 7 verses, David talks to God, beginning with, "To you, O Lord, do I lift up my soul." Then he goes on to ask God for guidance. Then in all but one of the next 7 verses, he makes statements about God, affirming his goodness and emphasizing that God will lead sinners in his ways. In verse 11, at the midpoint of this psalm, David asks God for forgiveness of his sins, which are many. It's worth noting that this verse is sandwiched between the verses where David speaks of God's goodness. Then in the next 7 verses, David goes back to asking God for help in the difficulties that he's facing. In the final verse in the psalm, David asks God to save his people. So why does the way the psalm is set out matter? Especially to you and I in 2020, a few thousand years after David composed it. Can I suggest the following answers to those questions? Firstly, when, and not if, we confess our sins to God, we should do so in the context of his goodness and our confidence that he wants the best for us and he will lead and teach us as long as we stay humble. Secondly, we should pour our hearts out to God as honestly and specifically as David did. However, thirdly, we should do so alongside a good measure of speaking back to God what he says about himself and his love for us. The Psalms, and indeed the whole of the Bible, of course, contain much fuel for doing so. So today, and continuing with the food analogy, do seek to maintain a good mixed diet when talking to God. Have a blessed day.